It began on the darkest day in human history, a day so horrifying that even the stars seemed to dim as if they could feel the pain that was about to spread across the galaxy. It started with a flicker on every holoscreen, a glitch on every datapad, a sudden seizure in every space station's broadcast feed. At first, people thought it was a solar flare, or a glitch, or maybe a hacked advertisement. But then the symbol appeared, the blood-red crest of the Galactic Empire, the largest, most feared dictatorship in the known universe. Their voice flooded every screen, every signal, every channel, drowning out music, news, and even emergency frequencies. No species could turn it off. No world could block it. The galaxy was forced to watch. And then the cameras turned toward a small blue-green planet with silver oceans and shining cities. Nova Terra, one of humanity's youngest and brightest colonies. 10 billion people lived there. 10 billion humans who woke up that morning with normal worries, normal dreams, normal hopes. Children walked to school. Workers prepared to start their shifts. Families cooked breakfast. Pilots prepared their morning routes. Lovers whispered to each other. Life was normal. Life was calm. Life was seconds away from being erased forever. Orbiting above Nova Terra was an Imperial Dreadstar, a battle station the size of a moon, armed with a superweapon no one believed the Empire would ever use. Even the Empire's enemies thought it was just a threat, a way to scare worlds into submission. No sane ruler would annihilate an entire planet. No leader would kill 10 billion civilians live on broadcast. No one, except the Galactic Emperor. A metallic voice echoed from the broadcast, cold as a dying star. "Observe," it said. "This is the fate of all who disobey the Empire." And then the weapon fired. A beam of white-gold light shot across space and pierced Nova Terra's atmosphere like a spear thrown by a god. The entire planet lit up. Oceans boiled. Cities vaporized. Mountains crumbled into dust. 10 billion human voices vanished in a single breath, turned to ash before they could scream. The galaxy screamed for them. Every species jolted in horror. Alien mothers covered their children's eyes. Soldiers watched with their hands shaking. Diplomats dropped their notes in shock. Leaders of worlds froze, unable to process the magnitude of what they were witnessing. Even the Council of Nine, the galaxy's main political body, gasped in disbelief. But humanity did not scream. They did not roar. They did not protest. They did not broadcast a single angry message. They went silent. Too silent. Earth, the birthplace of humanity, shut down all communication instantly. Every human colony went dark. Every Terran station stopped transmitting. Every human fleet vanished from scanners. It was as if humanity had held one long breath. Alien ambassadors panicked. Council members sent urgent messages begging Earth to respond. Empires watched nervously, expecting a declaration of war. But nothing came. No ships launched. No armies moved. No threats were sent. Human space turned black like a void swallowing all light. The Empire laughed. Their leaders celebrated. Their admirals boasted that humanity had finally been broken. "See," they said. "Humans are weak. They will not fight. They are finished." But they did not know the truth hiding beneath Earth's quiet surface. A truth sleeping deep underground, beneath layers of rock older than the continents themselves. A truth built in secret centuries ago, locked away under a global treaty signed by every human nation. A treaty that said humanity must never, ever use what lay beneath. Unless humanity lost 10 billion people in a single event. No one believed that day would ever come. No one believed the activation code would ever be spoken. But as Nova Terra burned, and the Empire's broadcast ended with mocking laughter, something unimaginable stirred beneath Earth's mantle. Miles below the surface, deeper than any mine, deeper than any city, deeper than any natural cavern, a megastructure slept, a machine the size of a planet's core. For 300 years it had been silent, cold, dead, waiting. Then the sensor detected a casualty count. 10 billion human lives lost. The lights flickered. The reactors hummed. The superstructure pulsed like a heartbeat waking from hibernation. Massive steel doors opened with the groan of titans rising from their graves. Metal limbs retracted from locked positions. Giant chambers hissed with pressure release. An ancient AI voice, untouched by time, echoed through the caverns. Project Final, authorized. On Earth's surface, nobody heard it. But the ground trembled. The oceans rippled as if something enormous was moving beneath them. Birds across the planet suddenly flew away from the seas. Whales dove deep in fear. Animals in every forest froze, sensing a shift older than instinct, older than life. And alien spies watching Earth from orbit panicked. They saw seismic activity that didn't match natural patterns. They saw energy readings rising from locations that had been silent for centuries. They saw power signatures that didn't exist in any known database. Yet Earth sent no messages, no warnings, no threats. The silence of humanity was more terrifying than any scream. Across the galaxy, species began to whisper. What is Earth planning? Why aren't humans responding? Are they broken? Or are they preparing something? But the Empire mocked the fear. They believed humans were hiding because they were scared. They believed Earth was mourning. They believed silence meant surrender. They celebrated the victory broadcast for cycles, completely unaware that their laughter was the sound of their own funeral drums. Because Earth wasn't hiding. Earth wasn't scared. Earth was activating something the galaxy prayed would never awaken. In the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean, the seafloor vibrated. Ancient steel plates parted like the petals of a mechanical flower. Cold water rushed into a chamber so large it made mountains look small. Inside it, the first final-class warship woke. The ship's hull glowed with blue energy veins older than any current technology. It wasn't built to travel through space. It was built to bend it. In the Sahara Desert, dunes shifted to reveal massive doors beneath the sand. Wind roared across open metal as giant engines rose from below, glowing like newborn stars. In Antarctica, a glacier cracked open, revealing an entire underground city of weapons, docks, and reactors powered by something humanity had reverse-engineered from ancient relics found on Mars. The old Earth governments had known long ago that the galaxy was not kind. They had known a day might come when an enemy would try to destroy humanity completely. So they built Project Final, a last line of defense so powerful it could change the shape of the galaxy. It was never meant to be used. It was a nightmare, a warning, a shadow waiting for a catastrophe so big it would justify unleashing it. And Nova Terra's genocide was that catastrophe. Deep in Earth Command, the leaders who survived the shock of the broadcast gathered underground. These weren't politicians. These weren't diplomats. These were the descendants of the original Project Final architects, and they knew what must be done. How long until activation completes? One asked. The AI responded, 72 hours. What happens when it wakes? The commander whispered. Project Final will deploy, the AI replied. Earth will strike. The commander closed his eyes. And the Empire? The AI didn't hesitate. Deleted. While the countdown began beneath Earth, the galaxy buzzed with speculation. News networks repeated one question: why is Earth silent? Empires prepared defenses. Merchant guilds paused their trade routes. Some species fled in fear, believing humans were about to self-destruct or lash out. But others whispered something different, something older. Humans have always been the last species you should corner. They break, but they break like stars. They explode. They survive what others cannot. The ancient machine gods, the extinct civilization whose ruins littered the galaxy, had left warnings in their ruins. Warnings about the children of Sol. Warnings about the species of fire. Warnings about the ones who will rise when pushed into darkness. The Empire had ignored those warnings. And now Earth's oceans throbbed with heat. Earth's mountains vibrated with engines coming online. Earth's night sky flickered with invisible energy fields rising like shields of mist. The galaxy didn't understand what was happening. They didn't know Earth had begun the countdown to a storm so destructive it would reshape history. They didn't know Project Final was more than a fleet. It was a transformation of the entire planet. And they didn't know humanity had changed overnight. Humans were no longer mourning. They were preparing. As the final minute of the first countdown ticked away, the AI voice whispered through the underground vaults, Phase 1 complete. The megastructure under the Pacific began to rise like a massive living city coming out of the ocean, towering thousands of meters toward the sky. Alien satellites watching Earth short-circuited, unable to measure the energy output. And then something else happened, something no species expected. Earth's entire atmosphere shimmered. A global shield, invisible until now, flickered into existence. The Empire sent scouts to test the shield. None returned. Not one. Their ships vanished as soon as they crossed the edge of human space. The Empire stopped laughing. Their admirals grew pale. Their emperor demanded answers. But it was too late. Humanity had awakened the one thing the galaxy wasn't ready for. Their ancient, unstoppable power. Earth had spoken no words. No threats. No warnings. Just silence. The silence of a blade before it strikes. The silence of a storm before it breaks. The silence of a species that had just said one thing with their actions. War is coming. And the galaxy was not ready for Project Final. The news of Nova Terra's destruction did not fade. It spread like fire through dry leaves, ripping across the galaxy in waves of panic, horror, and disbelief, reaching every world, every outpost, every ship drifting between the stars. Billions of alien civilians gathered around holoscreens replaying the Empire's broadcast, their hands shaking, their voices cracking, their minds refusing to accept that 10 billion human lives had been erased in a single flash. Even species who once viewed humans with suspicion now felt something strange. Fear mixed with sympathy, shock mixed with guilt. The terrifying realization that if one of the galaxy's strongest species could be wiped out so easily, then no one was safe. Protests erupted across neutral planets. Crowds filled city plazas holding signs that said Nova Terra must not be forgotten and justice for the dead. Even those who once disliked humans now wept for them. Yet Earth remained silent. That silence unsettled the galaxy in a way even the destruction hadn't. Human ambassadors who once attended council meetings vanished. Their hologates stopped responding. Ships that used to patrol borderlines disappeared from scanners. Human colonies shut their doors, locking themselves inside as if preparing for impact. At first, leaders of various species thought Earth was grieving. But then the silence stretched from hours to days, from days to cycles, and grief began to look like something else entirely. Something colder. Something deeper. Something that felt like the quiet before a cosmic storm. The Council of Nine called an emergency meeting, gathering inside the Grand Chamber on Aurelis Prime. Representatives from every major species arrived. Scaled, furred, feathered, armored. Each carrying tablets full of the same terrifying footage. The destruction of Nova Terra played silently behind them. The blinding flash, the collapsing cities, the rising mushroom of dust that swallowed the entire world. The council speaker, a six-eyed Lumerian elder, trembled as he opened the meeting. "We must understand Earth's intentions," he said. "Their silence frightens the galaxy." A reptilian general hissed nervously, his claws tapping against the table. "Humans have never been silent after an attack." A winged ambassador added, "Yes, humans respond with noise, with fire, with movement. But this time, nothing." "It feels like they're pulling away," another representative whispered. "Or waiting. Or preparing." The room fell into suffocating silence. In the Empire, however, the mood was entirely different. Their citizens were ordered to celebrate. Imperial news shows replayed the destruction proudly, spinning it as a victory against rebels. Children in schools were taught that humans were dangerous animals finally put down. The Emperor addressed his empire with a cold grin. "Let this be a lesson," he declared, standing beneath banners dripping in gold. "This is the fate of all who dare challenge the Empire." The galaxy recoiled in disgust. But humanity said nothing. Not a whisper. Not a warning. Not a threat. This silence terrified the Empire's own admirals more than they admitted. They remembered past wars with humans, how humanity fought like a cornered beast, unpredictable, unstoppable, burning their own ships before surrendering. They remembered the legend of the Sol fleet that vanished into the dark, promising to return only when the galaxy needed judgment. They remembered stories about Project Final, rumors older than most species, that humanity had built something catastrophic long ago and buried it deep. Something too powerful, too dangerous, something forbidden. But the Empire dismissed these stories as myths. They believed humans were broken now. They believed silence meant fear. What they did not know was that humanity wasn't silent because they were weak. Humanity was silent because something older than fear was waking. Something ancient. Something designed to activate only when 10 billion humans died in a single day. Meanwhile, inside human space, things were changing at a speed only human-level desperation could create. On Mars, red dust storms raged unnaturally as underground reactors hummed with new life. On Titan, methane lakes rippled as hidden shipyards lit up under the surface. On the Moon, old bases once thought abandoned flickered back online. And on Earth, Project Final continued to rise. Civilians were told nothing. Military leaders were told everything. Only 2 words echoed through the underground war rooms: no survivors. The Terran High Command met inside the Sol Core Chamber, a place known only to 12 people in the galaxy. Screens showed the data of Nova Terra. Names, faces, ages, entire family trees erased. A young officer stared at the numbers with tears sliding down his cheeks. 10 billion dead, he whispered. 10 billion, an older general placed a hand on his shoulder. We will make sure the Empire pays. With how many lives? The young officer asked. The general's eyes hardened. As many as it takes. Above them, Earth's sky flashed with strange auroras, lights that didn't belong to weather, but to power systems activating miles underground. Children pointed at the sky in confusion, asking their parents what the lights were. Parents didn't answer. They didn't know. They only knew something enormous was happening. Something the world hadn't seen since the ancient times when humanity fought extinction and chose survival through power. Alien spies trying to observe Earth found their sensors short-circuiting. Ships trying to scan human space experienced massive interference. One spy vessel approached Earth's orbit and vanished without a trace. The Empire denied sending it. The galaxy held its breath. Rumors spread. Earth shot it down. No, the ship hit a new kind of shield. No, Earth devoured it. The truth was worse than all the rumors combined. Project Final had a defensive system programmed to destroy anything foreign that came within a specific radius. That radius had now expanded. Earth was locking itself behind a wall no species could penetrate. The galaxy began to panic. On a distant moon station, a group of alien miners argued over the broadcasts. Why don't the humans attack? Why aren't they responding? Maybe they're scared. No, humans don't get scared like this. Then why the silence? One miner trembled. Because silence means planning. On the Empire's capital world, an uneasy feeling swept over their officers. They remembered how humans fought in the old wars. They remembered how humans won battles they had no right to win. They remembered humanity's terrifying ability to adapt, evolve, and rise from ashes stronger than before. And now Earth was silent. It's not anger, one admiral muttered. It's calculation. Another admiral whispered, it's too quiet, too controlled. A third admiral swallowed hard. What if we poked something we shouldn't have? Their voices cracked when they remembered the ancient ruins found on dead planets. Ruins built by a species older than the Empire, older than many galaxies. That extinct species had left warnings carved into obsidian walls. Beware the children of Sol. They rise from fire. Their silence is death. If they fall, the galaxy falls next. The Empire had ignored those carvings. Now the galaxy began to remember them. Meanwhile, deep beneath Earth, the Project Final AI began the next phase. A massive hologram projection lit up in the command chamber, displaying thousands of star systems. Red lines traced the Empire's supply routes, fleet locations, military bases, weapons depots. Blue lines showed human space. Black lines showed something else, something bigger, something hidden. The AI spoke with a voice made of thunder and calm. Phase 2 initiated. Human commanders stared at the hologram with dread and awe. One whispered, "If we unleash all of this, we could destroy the galaxy." The AI replied, "The galaxy chose its fate when it killed 10 billion innocents." Earth did not disagree. Outside, alien diplomats desperately tried to contact human officials. Messages poured into human space. "Earth, please respond. Humans, we stand with you. Please don't start a war. We offer protection." But every message hit a wall. Earth did not respond. Humanity was no longer listening. Humanity was preparing. Only one message came from human space, and it terrified everyone who heard it. A 3-second transmission broadcast to the Council: "Stand aside." No explanation. No threat. No emotion. Just those 2 words. The Council froze. The galaxy froze. The Empire laughed nervously, unsure what the message meant. But everyone with experience fighting humans knew. Humans didn't warn enemies. Humans warned bystanders. And stand aside was the final warning before something unstoppable happened. Something world-ending. Something civilization-crushing. Something like Project Final. As Earth's oceans vibrated and massive structures rose higher, a deep, ancient hum spread across the planet, making birds flee and mountains shake. The countdown continued. Humanity did not speak. Humanity did not roar. Humanity did not cry. Humanity prepared. And the galaxy trembled deep beneath Earth's crust, where sunlight had never reached and silence ruled for centuries. Project Final finally began to show its true face, and what awakened there was nothing like the galaxy had ever imagined. As the countdown continued, giant metal pillars retracted from ancient docks the size of entire cities, revealing rows of machines so enormous that even Earth's own engineers stared at them with trembling awe. These were not ordinary ships. These were not simple weapons. These were titans of war forged from designs older than modern governments themselves, created by human minds who understood one terrifying truth. One day, the galaxy might turn on humanity. And when that day came, humanity needed something powerful enough to defend not just Earth, but every human life across the stars. These machines were humanity's last promise, and their first warning. As the megastructure rose slowly from the Pacific Ocean like a living island made of steel, clouds spiraled above it, lightning flickering around the massive hulls of warships that towered thousands of meters high. Their surfaces weren't painted or polished. They pulsed with energy veins that glowed like living nerves, humming with power generated from reactors that blended human engineering with alien relics found centuries ago. The world's seas trembled with shockwaves as ship after ship woke from centuries of sleep, their engines thundering beneath the waves as water fell from their hulls like waterfalls. Engineers and soldiers gathered on the surface platforms, watching in stunned silence as humanity's hidden fleet climbed toward the sky. Some fell to their knees. Some whispered prayers. Others cried, not out of fear, but out of grief and pride mixing together like a storm inside their hearts. For many of them had family on Nova Terra. Many had lost everyone. And now, seeing Project Final rise from the ocean felt like watching their loved ones rise too, as if 10 billion ghosts had climbed from the ashes to take their place inside the machines built to avenge them. Meanwhile, on the other side of Earth, the Sahara dune gates opened, titanic hidden doors buried beneath centuries of sand. Entire dunes collapsed like waterfalls of gold as a desert floor split open, and from the depths rose the largest weapon humanity had ever constructed, the Leviathan engine, a structure so large it cast a shadow across the desert for miles. Its power core pulsed like a beating heart made of starlight. As it rose fully, the sand around it turned into glass from the heat. Soldiers watching from faraway bases clutched their uniforms, unable to speak. The Leviathan engine was a planetary weapon, not designed to destroy worlds, but to erase fleets. The galaxy had nothing that could rival it. Nothing that could even detect it until it fired. And it had just awakened. On Antarctica's frozen plains, glacier cracked like thunder as an entire underground city emerged from beneath the ice. The ice melted instantly as massive reactors lit up with blue fire. These weren't shipyards. They were something else, something more terrifying. They were multiphasic teleportation gates, built to send Project Final ships across the galaxy without needing to travel. With these gates active, humanity could strike anywhere, anytime, without warning. No empire could defend against that. No species could escape it. Far above Earth, human satellites flickered back online, but their signals were encrypted, unreadable, and wrapped in code so advanced that even the Empire's best AIS failed to crack them. Then a message appeared in the Terran High Command chambers, all Final-class ships online. A deep rumble shook the entire Pacific as the first of the Final-class warships broke the surface completely, ascending into the air with engines that glowed like miniature suns. The ship was enormous, longer than most alien cities, wider than the Empire's dreadnought docks. Its silhouette blocked out the sky. Children ran outside their homes, pointing upward. Some screamed in awe. Some fainted. Some simply watched silently, sensing the change in the air. The first ship's name appeared across its hull in glowing letters. TFS Oblivion. And the galaxy felt the meaning before they even knew the word. That ship alone carried enough power to challenge half the Empire's fleet. And it wasn't the only one. One by one, more ships rose: TFS Judgment, TFS Vanguard, TFS Eclipse, TFS Revenant. Each one a nightmare forged from the darkest chapter of human history and awakened for the darkest chapter yet to come. Meanwhile, inside Earth Command, the human generals gathered around a hologram showing the fully awakened Project Final. The main commander, Admiral Serena Cole, stared at the fleet with shaking hands. She had lost her son, her wife, and her sister on Nova Terra. She had nothing left except duty and revenge. But even she, hardened by war and tragedy, whispered with trembling breath, "My God." Another officer turned to her, voice hoarse. "Are we really doing this? Are we truly unleashing Project Final?" Admiral Serena's eyes filled with tears, not of fear, but of something stronger. A mother's rage mixed with a soldier's resolve. "We didn't choose this," she said quietly. "The Empire chose this when they killed 10 billion people." "What will the galaxy think?" another officer asked. Serena looked at him slowly. The galaxy didn't stop the Empire. Silence. A heavy silence that no one dared break. Then the AI spoke through the room with a coldness that felt almost alive. Phase 3, Strike Preparation. The hologram of the galaxy expanded, showing the Empire's military bases glowing red. Their fleets glowed red. Their supply lines glowed red. Their capital world glowed the brightest red of all. The AI continued, all targets locked. Final class warships ready. Leviathan engine charging. Teleportation gates primed. Every officer in the room felt the air turn heavy. This was real. This was happening. Humanity was about to unleash something the galaxy had feared for thousands of years. Serena looked around the room at the soldiers who had lost everything, who had been hardened by an unforgivable catastrophe, who were now staring at the tools of retribution they never wanted to use. She spoke softly, but her words filled the entire chamber with fire. "We warned the galaxy," she said. "We begged for peace. We tried to be better. But they killed 10 billion of our people in one day." She clenched her fist. "So now, we show them who they awakened." And with that, she activated the final command. The ground shook. The Pacific waters split. The skies lit up. And the first Project Final fleet began lifting into orbit. Shadows of vengeance rising like gods forged from humanity's oldest nightmares. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. The Empire had no idea what it had just unleashed. And Earth, silent, grieving, burning with purpose, whispered with its actions what words could never capture. This isn't war. This is judgment. Across the galaxy, the Empire felt the shift before their senses confirmed it. A cold pressure in the air like the universe itself was holding its breath, and for the first time in centuries, the Empire's admirals, creatures who ruled through fear, domination, and arrogance, felt something they had never felt before, the trembling edge of panic. Reports began flooding into the Imperial High Command like a storm of nightmares, each message worse than the last. Scouts sent toward human space were not returning. Ships that once scanned Earth with ease were now blind, their readings scrambled by energy signatures that had no known source. Satellites orbiting near Terran borders flickered, glitched, and then exploded without warning. One admiral stared at a broken hologram feed that showed nothing but static. "This cannot be human technology," he whispered, but his voice shook. And he was right. It wasn't human technology. It was something humanity built using knowledge they were never meant to have. Knowledge stripped from the remains of an ancient civilization that died long before the Empire existed. That was the truth the Empire ignored, the truth they buried under arrogance. Humans had not reached the galaxy late. They had reached it prepared. In the war room of the Empire's capital, the Emperor demanded answers, slamming his fist against the table so hard the metal bent beneath it. Why is Earth silent? Why are their borders sealed? Why have our ships not returned? But the admirals could not answer. They only stared at the newest report flashing across the holoscreen. It showed a faint, half-corrupted image, just a shadow in space. But even that shadow was enough to shake their nerves. A massive shape, dark, smooth, impossible to track, drifting through the void with a slow, deliberate motion. "A ship," one admiral whispered. "No," another corrected, voice trembling, "a monster." The Empire scientists tried to analyze the file, but every attempt returned the same chilling message, unreadable. "Unknown. Do not approach." The Emperor's rage turned to unease. "Send more recon units," he ordered. But the scientists shook their heads. "We already did, Your Majesty. 37 of them. And none returned." Silence strangled the room. No one wanted to say what they all felt. Fear. Real fear. Fear of a species the Empire always dismissed as emotional, unstable, weak. Fear of humans. And the fear only deepened as more sightings came from border worlds. Strange tremors rippling through hyperspace, unknown gravity fields distorting flight paths, brief flashes of enormous dark hulls with no IDs, no signals, no weaknesses. Empire soldiers began whispering rumors. The humans are using ancient weaponry. They found something the gods left behind. They've awakened the sleeping titans. Even civilians felt something wrong in the universe. Night skies on the Empire's outer planets flickered with unnatural storms. Spaceports near human borders reported strange vibrations shaking the ground. Empires always believed they were unstoppable, untouchable, unchallenged. But now they felt hunted. And they didn't know how to fight what they could not see. Meanwhile, in the Council of Nine's Grand Chamber, panic was turning into dread. The council speaker called another emergency session, his hands trembling as he read the reports. "Human ships have gone invisible to all scanners. They are using technology that violates the laws of physics. None of our fleets can track them, approach them, or identify them." A winged ambassador spoke with a shaky voice. "Are you saying humanity has surpassed every known species in military strength?" An insectoid general tapped its claws nervously. "Surpassed? No, they've left us behind." "This is impossible," another ambassador said. "No species can build so much so quickly." But the Lumerian elder shook his head. "They did not build it quickly. They built it secretly. For centuries." The room filled with horrified gasps. The council had always known humanity was capable of innovation, rapid change, and unconventional thinking, but never had they imagined humans were hiding something of this scale. Hiding a fleet powerful enough to challenge the galaxy. Hiding a project so massive and dangerous that even humans feared using it. And now it was awake. A quiet tension spread through the chamber, so thick it felt like the walls were holding their breath. Finally, the insectoid general croaked out the words everyone was thinking but too afraid to say. "What if Earth is preparing for extermination?" "You mean, to wipe out the Empire?" "No," the general whispered. "To wipe out anyone who gets in their way." The room fell silent. The fear was real now, a fear that felt ancient, instinctual, as if every species suddenly remembered the warnings carved into forgotten ruins across dead worlds. "Do not anger the children of Sol. Do not make humans rise. Do not take from them what cannot be replaced." Those warnings, once dismissed as myths, now felt like prophecy. Meanwhile, deep in the Empire's intelligence division, one last spy ship managed to send a message before vanishing into static. Only one sentence came through, scrambled but unmistakable: "They're coming." The Empire's admirals froze. Those two words, so simple yet so heavy, carried more terror than any weapon. Because it wasn't a threat. It was a fact. Something was moving through space with purpose, precision, silence. Something built from human grief, human rage, human purpose. Something unstoppable. And then the worst blow hit them. The Empire discovered that their own border outposts near human territory were going dark, one by one. Not destroyed. Not attacked. Just silent. Erased from existence. No debris. No escape pods. No distress calls. Just nothing. The Emperor's voice cracked as he whispered, "How are the humans doing this?" But no one could answer. No one dared to. Because deep down, every admiral, every general, every scientist in the Empire knew the truth. They awakened something that should have stayed sleeping. They provoked a species that never forgives betrayal. They lit a fire that could burn the galaxy. And somewhere in the cold void between stars, the first Project Final warship turned toward the Empire's territory, its weapons humming like a distant storm. The Empire was no longer laughing. They were afraid. Truly afraid. And humanity? Humanity had only just begun as the Empire trembled and the Council panicked. The rest of the galaxy felt the shift like a silent earthquake spreading through every star system, shaking every government, every soldier, every citizen who knew deep inside their bones that something unstoppable was waking in human space. Across thousands of worlds, alien civilians gathered around public screens replaying the destruction of Nova Terra and the eerie silence of Earth that followed. And for the first time in living memory, billions of non-human voices whispered the same thing: the humans will not let this pass. On the peaceful world of Aloria, children cried as they watched the Empire fire its weapon again and again on the replay, their parents pulling them close, whispering, "No one deserved this, not even humans." On the mining colony of Awakens 7, hardened workers who once cursed humans for being too emotional now clenched their fists, their eyes wet. 10 billion, one miner whispered. That's more than our entire species. In the faraway forests of Verdan, a soft-spoken species known for avoiding war held a secret meeting in the moonlight where their elders discussed the ancient prophecies about the children of Sol. "It has begun," one elder whispered with trembling leaves. "The fireborn rise." Even species that once fought humanity now felt something shift in their hearts, sympathy mixed with a sense of justice. They knew that if the Empire could destroy 10 billion humans live, they could do it to anyone. The Empire was not just humanity's enemy now. The Empire was the galaxy's enemy. And slowly, silently, secretly, species across the stars began choosing sides. But Earth said nothing. Not a single transmission. Not a single diplomatic message. Not a single request for help. That silence only made the galaxy more desperate. In diplomatic backchannels, messages started flooding toward human space. Earth, we offer support. Humanity, we can shelter your refugees. Terran Command, you are not alone. Please, respond. But human space remained sealed like a fortress. Messages bounced off an invisible wall that no technology could pass. The silence grew heavier, darker, more suffocating. And that was when fear transformed into something else. Respect. The galaxy realized humans weren't asking for allies because humans didn't need allies. Still, a few species dared to send envoys toward Terran borders, small ships meant to show peace and support. The first envoy was from the Venari Republic, a gentle species that hated war. Their envoy ship approached the edge of human space, broadcasting nothing but peaceful tones. They expected to be destroyed instantly. Instead, they reached a shimmering barrier, the same one that had erased Empire scout ships. The Venari captain whispered, "If we die, let it be quick." But the barrier opened. Just a small doorway, enough for a peaceful envoy to pass. The Venari ship trembled as it entered. The crew expected war, fire, weapons pointing at their faces. Instead, They saw something impossible. Terran warships the size of mountains hovering silently like sleeping giants. Thousands of them. Their hulls were dark, smooth, unreadable, yet glowing with power that made the stars around them flicker. The Venari captain fell to their knees, whispering in awe, "By the moons, the humans built this, without anyone knowing." A Terran AI spoke through the Venari ship in a calm, emotionless tone. "Venari Republic. Ally. Permission granted. Do not approach farther." The Venari envoy turned back toward the barrier, shaken to their core. When they returned home, their report spread across the galaxy like lightning. Earth trusts peaceful allies. Earth will not harm those who do not choose war. Earth is preparing something unimaginable. More envoys tried to enter. Some species were allowed. Some were turned away gently. Not a single one was harmed. The message was clear. Earth knew who stood with them. And Earth knew who stood aside. The galaxy realized humans were not hunting everyone. Humans were hunting one thing, the Empire. On neutral planets, leaders whispered behind closed doors. If Earth starts this war, do we support them? If we do nothing, the Empire will destroy us next. If we help the Empire, Earth will erase us too. What choice do we have? Slowly, silently, the galaxy split into 3 groups. Group 1, the Allies. Species who offered quiet support, knowing they shared no blame for Nova Terra. They sent resources, intel, medical aid, even volunteers. They didn't join Earth, but they didn't stand in the way. Group 2, the Silent. Species too afraid to pick a side. They shut down their borders and prayed the war would not reach them. They hoped humans would understand. They hoped silence meant safety. Group 3, the Cowards. Species who once supported the Empire, who traded weapons and ships to them, who ignored their crimes. Now they begged for Earth's forgiveness, sending desperate transmissions. "We were forced. We had no choice. Please, we are not your enemy." Earth ignored them. Humanity had no time for cowards. Meanwhile, inside the Empire, panic turned into desperation. Their citizens, once prideful, now begged their emperor for protection. Where is the fleet? Why are humans so quiet? Why can't we find them? Are we going to die? The emperor sent messengers to the council begging for reinforcements, claiming the empire acted under pressure. Claiming the genocide was militarily necessary, claiming humanity was planning annihilation. The council didn't believe him. They saw the empire's lie now. They saw the truth. Humanity didn't need to lie. Humanity didn't need excuses. Humanity didn't need speeches. Humanity had something far more terrifying: purpose. And for the first time in history, the council did something shocking. They refused to help the empire. "You caused this," they said. "Face the consequences." And with that, the empire found itself alone. No allies. No support. No sympathy. Just a galaxy watching the trap they set for humanity slowly close around their own necks. Meanwhile, far beneath Earth, Phase 4 of Project Final prepared for launch. Admiral Serena Cole watched the hologram showing the galaxy's political landscape shifting like sand in a storm. She saw who supported them. She saw who stayed silent. She saw who tried to lie their way out. Her jaw tightened. "Do we respond to any of them?" a young officer asked. "No," Serena answered coldly. "We are not here for politics. We are here for the dead." Her voice cracked softly, almost breaking the steel in her tone. "We are here for Nova Terra." Outside, the sky filled with dark silhouettes as final-class warships moved into position, their engines glowing like suns preparing to ignite the void. The galaxy fell silent again, not because humans were silent, but because the galaxy finally understood the truth. Earth didn't want allies. Earth didn't want approval. Earth didn't want excuses. Earth wanted justice. Project Final was no longer a secret. It was a promise. And in every corner of the galaxy, species whispered the same terrifying prophecy: the children of Sol are coming. The first strike did not begin with a warning or a countdown. or even a visible sign in the sky. It began with silence so deep that the Empire's most advanced scanners, satellites, and early warning systems all reported the same unthinkable message: nothing detected, and that nothing terrified their commanders more than any armada ever could. On the Empire's border world of Arcanus Prime, soldiers patrolled under a bright red sun, laughing nervously to hide the fear in their throats, telling themselves the rumors about humans were exaggerated. But then the ground trembled, the air shimmered, and for a split second the sky turned completely black, as if someone had placed a giant shadow between the star and the planet. When the soldiers looked up, they saw a shape so massive it eclipsed the entire horizon. A final-class warship, silent and unannounced, hovering in orbit like a giant judgment statue carved from pure darkness. They tried to raise alarms. They tried to lock weapons. They tried to contact command. But every system failed instantly. The Empire's central AI collapsed. Their defense grid went offline. Their comm towers froze mid-signal. The entire planet stood defenseless under a single human ship. And the ship didn't even fire a normal weapon. A soft blue glow pulsed from its hull, spreading across the sky like ripples on water, beautiful, gentle, and horrifying. Every Empire facility on the planet, every base, every factory, every shipyard, simply vanished. Not exploded, not burned, not damaged. Vanished, erased cleanly from the surface as if human energy beams had peeled them out of reality. Civilians were left untouched. Forests remained. Rivers flowed. Birds kept flying. Only the Empire's military was surgically removed, carved out of existence with terrifying precision. And then the ship vanished again, folding into space like a shadow returning to the dark. Arcanus Prime's leaders tried to send a distress call, but all they could do was whisper into the broken comms, "The humans have returned." Within hours, identical disappearances began across dozens of Empire systems. Shipyards gone. Fleets missing. Ammunition depots erased so cleanly that even the dust where they once stood was gone. One admiral stared at the map of blinking red dots turning black, whispering, "This is not war, this is cleansing." Empire scientists desperately analyzed the pattern. How are they doing this? How are they appearing everywhere at once? How are they bypassing our defenses? A terrified officer shouted, "Are they teleporting? Are they bending space?" A scientist answered with a trembling voice, "No, they are rewriting it." Meanwhile, the Empire's main fleet, hundreds of dreadnoughts, thousands of cruisers, millions of soldiers, mustered near the capital, forming a shield around the Emperor's world. It was the greatest fleet in the galaxy, feared for centuries, undefeated in battle. They waited in silence, gripping their weapons, staring into the stars, praying to every god they had for protection. But protection did not come. The Oblivion arrived. The flagship of Project Final. As tall as a mountain, as wide as a continent, as silent as the grave. When it emerged from a fold in space, every Empire ship froze mid-flight. Every sensor died. Every engine sputtered. Every AI collapsed. It was like gravity itself bowed to the ship. A single whisper came through the Empire's comms. Not from a human, but from their own machines, forced to speak by an overwhelming overriding signal. Stand down. The Empire fleet did not stand down. They were paralyzed. The Oblivion moved like a god drifting through the void, its hull glowing with shifting blue veins of power. When it reached the center of the Empire's defensive formation, it didn't fire a single shot. Instead, it emitted a pulse. A soft, low hum, and every Empire ship, every dreadnought, every cruiser, every fighter, shut down. Lights died. Shields dropped. Weapons fell hollow. Engines stopped. Thousands of ships floated powerless, drifting like toys in a cosmic ocean. The Emperor screamed into the broken comms, demanding his fleet to fight, but his commands fell into silence. And then the second pulse hit. Empire ships crumbled into dust. Not torn apart. Not exploded. Turned into dust, drifting away like black snow into the void. 100 years of imperial power erased in 10 seconds. When the Empire's capital world saw the sky fill with drifting dust clouds, they realized the truth. Humanity was not retaliating out of anger. Humanity was carrying out a judgment. Back on Earth, Admiral Serena Cole stood with her officers, watching the destruction feed through secure links. She said nothing. Her tears fell silently down her cheeks as her heart remembered Nova Terra, her wife's laughter, her son's drawings on the cabin wall, her sister's voice calling her name, and now the Empire was feeling the first taste of the pain they inflicted. "How many?" an officer whispered. "How many do we remove?" Serena closed her eyes. Enough to stop this from ever happening again. Meanwhile, the Empire's last surviving commanders gathered around their emperor. Their voices broke as they tried to speak. "Your Majesty, we cannot see them, we cannot track them, we cannot touch them, we cannot even understand their weapons." Another commander fell to her knees. "We should not have killed their world." A scientist sobbed, "We should not have awakened Project Final." And finally, one trembling admiral whispered the words the Emperor refused to hear but the galaxy had already accepted. "We cannot fight the children of Sol." As Project Final ships spread through the Empire, striking every military target with surgical precision, the galaxy watched in stunned silence. They saw the truth behind Earth's judgment. Humans spared civilians. Humans spared neutral worlds. Humans spared every species who did not stand with genocide. This was not vengeance. This was not rage. This was justice in its purest, coldest form. Humanity did not strike blindly. Humanity struck like a blade guided by 10 billion ghosts. And the galaxy understood the storm had truly arrived. Across the burning remains of their once mighty territory, the Galactic Empire finally understood what true fear felt like, not the fear of losing a battle or surrendering a sector, but the ancient, bone-deep terror of realizing that they had awakened a force they could never outrun, never fight, never reason with, and never defeat. As Project Final continued its silent advance, erasing fleet after fleet with terrifying precision, the Empire's surviving governors gathered in vast underground chambers beneath their capital, locking the doors, trembling like prey animals waiting for a predator to strike, their voices shaking as they argued about how to save themselves. Some demanded retaliation, even though they had no ships left. Some demanded hiding, even though there was nowhere to hide. But most simply broke down, crying in fear, begging the Emperor to fix what he had started. And the Emperor, once proud and brutal, now sat slumped on his throne like a man drowning in his own choices, his crown tilted, his eyes sunken, his voice barely a whisper as he finally admitted, "I made a mistake. I made a terrible mistake," but his whisper came too late. When the first Project Final ship appeared in the skies above the Empire's capital world, billions looked upward and froze. The vessel was enormous, its dark metallic skin glowing with blue fractures of energy, like cracks in a god's armor, and as it passed through the atmosphere, every cloud parted in fear. The Empire activated its last defense grid, ancient cannons, planetary shields, orbital rings, but the moment they powered on, the human ship released a soft pulse. The shields cracked like thin glass. The cannons shut down one by one. The orbital rings went dark, drifting like metal corpses through the sky. Then, silence. A silence so heavy it crushed the hearts of every citizen watching. And then the begging began. Millions of citizens flooded the capital streets, falling to their knees, holding signs written with shaking hands, "We are innocent. We did not support the Emperor. Do not kill us." Mothers held their children close, whispering desperate prayers to gods who had never listened before. Old soldiers tore off their medals, throwing them to the ground in shame. Even the Imperial Palace guards dropped their weapons, raising their empty hands toward the sky. And finally, the Emperor himself walked out onto his palace balcony. The same balcony he once used to command the galaxy, but now he looked small, fragile, broken. His voice cracked as it echoed through the city, "Humans of Earth, forgive us. We surrender. Please, show mercy." But Project Final did not respond. The ship hovered silently, its weapons quiet, its engines humming like the breath of a sleeping dragon. The Emperor's voice broke further. "We were wrong. We were blinded. We were afraid of your strength. We acted in cruelty. Give us a chance to make this right." The people sobbed. The guards sobbed. Even some of the Empire's generals wept openly, finally realizing their pride had brought them to the edge of extinction. And then the worst moment came, one nobody expected, one that tore through the Empire like a blade. Earth broadcast a message. A simple one. No face, no voice, just a screen. A screen showing every single name of all 10 billion humans who died on Nova Terra. One by one. Name after name. Child after child. Family after family. A list that lasted hours. The Empire was forced to watch. Forced to feel. Forced to see the faces, the ages, the smiles of the people they erased. Children holding toys. Students with school bags. Couples hugging. Workers laughing in groups. Elders smiling gently. Entire families standing together. 10 billion lives. 10 billion stories. 10 billion reasons why Earth had gone silent. By the end of the broadcast, the Empire was drowning in its own grief. Civilians screamed apologies toward the sky. Soldiers threw themselves to the ground in shame. Generals tore their uniforms apart. The Emperor sank to his knees, sobbing like a broken man. And then, the screen changed. A single sentence appeared, "Now you understand." The Empire's entire world fell completely silent. They understood now, not just the anger, not just the grief, not just the power. They understood the meaning of Earth's silence. It was not the silence of weakness. It was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of a graveyard holding 10 billion souls. The silence of judgment. The silence of a species pushed past the line no one should ever cross. The Emperor whispered into the empty air, "What do you want from us? What must we do?" And then humanity spoke again, this time with a calm, emotionless voice that shook the Empire more than any weapon could. "Surrender your leaders. Dissolve your empire. Stand down." The Emperor looked up toward the hovering ship, tears streaming down his face. "And if we refuse?" The voice replied, gentle but colder than space, "Then you join Nova Terra." The Empire broke completely. They had no options left. They had no ships. They had no defenses. They had no lies strong enough to survive the truth. They only had one choice. The Emperor surrendered himself. The admirals surrendered themselves. The generals turned themselves in. Civilians watched in stunned silence as their leaders walked toward the landing platform where a human dropship descended like a judgment angel. They did not fight. They did not argue. They did not beg anymore. They walked with their heads bowed, knowing that whatever happened next was something they deserved long ago. And as the dropship door closed, carrying away the most powerful men and women in the Empire, the rest of the galaxy watched in silence, understanding the final truth. The Empire wasn't destroyed by human weapons. The Empire was destroyed by human justice. Project Final did not end a civilization. It ended a legacy of cruelty. And as the massive warships slowly drifted away from the capital sky, civilians cried, not in fear, but in relief. The nightmare was over. The judgment was here. And humanity had just rewritten the galaxy. When the Empire finally fell, when its leaders were taken into custody and its armies surrendered without a single shot, an eerie calm settled across the galaxy. The kind of calm that comes only after a storm so violent it rewrites the shape of every coast it touches. And now worlds that once trembled under the Empire's shadow found themselves standing beneath a new sky. A sky filled with drifting dust where Imperial fleets once stood, and with the silent silhouettes of Terran ships watching from afar like guardians forged from grief itself. As Project Final ships moved away from the Empire's capital, they left behind no destruction, no burning cities, no shattered planets, only silence, and for the first time in centuries, that silence felt safe. Civilians stepped out of their homes slowly, as if afraid this peace was only temporary, touching the air, looking up at the sky where the last human ship vanished, whispering prayers of gratitude they never expected to speak for a species they once feared or misunderstood. Across neutral planets, entire populations gathered to watch the fall of the Empire unfold in real time, cheering when the announcement came that the Emperor had surrendered, crying when they learned humanity had spared every civilian, collapsing in relief when they realized the war that could have destroyed half the galaxy had ended with surgical precision instead of chaos. And yet, the galaxy still held its breath. wondering what humans would do next. On the Council of Nine's homeworld, the leaders met once more, this time not in panic but in quiet awe, staring at the final transmission sent from Earth, a message that would echo through history forever. We strike only at those who choose cruelty. We protect those who choose peace. It was not a threat. It was a promise. The council speaker closed his eyes, tears slipping down his 6 cheeks as he whispered, "Humanity, you were the storm we feared and the shield we needed." Around the galaxy, former Empire worlds began rebuilding. Terran engineers arrived not as conquerors, but as helpers. Where Empire prisons stood, humans dismantled them and built schools. Where Empire mines once broke the backs of enslaved civilians, humans brought medicine, food, water, and construction teams. Humanity did not seek tribute. They did not claim the Empire's throne. They did not raise their flag over conquered worlds. Instead, they said something the galaxy had never heard from a victorious power: your worlds belong to you. And for the first time in thousands of years, entire species tasted freedom. Meanwhile, the Empire's former citizens, once taught to hate humans, now saw the truth with their own eyes. Terran soldiers rebuilding their hospitals, Terran medics treating their wounded, Terran diplomats offering apologies for the fear they caused, and Terran engineers teaching them how to create their own fleets, not for war, but for protection. A young Empire child, barely old enough to speak, tugged on a Terran medic's sleeve and whispered, "Are you here to hurt us?" The medic knelt down, tears filling her eyes as she shook her head. "No, little one. We're here because no child should live in fear." That moment spread across the galaxy like a warm wind, softening hearts that had known only fear for generations. In the ruins of Nova Terra, where a world had been turned to dust, humanity began building something breathtaking. A memorial starship orbiting the remains, glowing softly with 10 billion blue lights, each one representing a life lost. Species from every corner of the galaxy visited it, bowing their heads and whispering prayers, promising never to let such a tragedy happen again. And then came the day humanity made its greatest announcement. Project Final shut down. Slowly, silently, peacefully. The massive warships returned to their ocean vaults. The Leviathan engine sunk beneath the desert sands. The teleportation gates collapsed back into the ice. Earth opened its borders once more. The shields surrounding human space faded like a dissolving storm. The galaxy watched in shock, unable to believe what they were seeing. No species had ever created such unimaginable power, and then chosen to put it away. A council ambassador whispered, "They could have taken everything, but instead they chose peace." Another replied, "That is why they were feared, and why they are respected." Humanity became something new that day, not conquerors, not victims, not monsters, but guardians of balance, peace, and justice. And slowly, the galaxy realized the truth. The ancient warnings carved into forgotten ruins were never threats. They were prophecies. When darkness rises, the children of Sol will rise higher. When the innocent are slain, humanity will become the fire that burns injustice. When the galaxy trembles, Earth will not. Now those prophecies became the foundation of a new age, an age where every species, weak or strong, young or ancient, walked with a little more courage, knowing that somewhere out there, a blue planet with oceans like molten sapphire watched over them, carrying the memory of 10 billion souls whose loss had changed the stars themselves. In the final moments of the conflict, Admiral Serena Cole stood alone on a Terran balcony overlooking Earth's horizon, the wind brushing her face, her heart heavy but calmer than it had been since the day Nova Terra fell. She whispered to the stars, "We did it. We brought justice." She closed her eyes, imagining her family among the 10 billion lights shining above, and she felt something soften inside her chest, a peace she thought she would never feel again. And far across the galaxy, in every world touched by the Empire's cruelty, people looked up at their own night skies, at the distant glow of humanity's star, and whispered with gratitude and awe, when the galaxy was dark. Earth became the light. And so a new chapter began. Not a chapter of fear. Not a chapter of war. A chapter of unity built upon the scars of tragedy and the strength of a species that refused to bow, refused to break, refused to forget. The galaxy healed. Humanity healed. And Project Final became the legend every child learned on every world. The story of how one genocide awakened a force of justice so powerful it reshaped history forever. A story with one message that echoed across stars, carved into monuments, whispered by elders, sung by children, written on banners at peace festivals. Do not mistake humanity's silence for weakness. It is the warning before the storm.